prepare for the unexpected. Nothing ever goes how you want it to go. I was like about to hyperventilate. I know.
You're such an inspiration to a young businesswoman.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the takeoff. Thank you, and again, welcome aboard.
On this episode of the Hormozis, we are on our way to San Diego to speak at one of our good friends' events. You know, I love San Diego. It's so nice. Great. I mean, I feel like I'm meant to live in California. Hello, sweetie. You know, I like speaking. It's just really hard for me to justify taking the time to do it. But if I have a good friend who's doing an event, I will drop everything to go speak if they ask me to, because that's just what friends do. Because I only have 20 minutes to do it, I can't make a 20-minute presentation. Because he was like, I want it to be like 20 minutes and then like an hour of Q&A. Even though I really like speaking at a lot of events, even just one day of speaking can be 3 days of travel, 2 days that you can't take meetings. I just get like stressed. I won't like stay up, but I'll just have nightmares. Yesterday I had a little nightmare. If I told you the nightmare, you'd be like, that is so fucking weird. And the monster was trying to kill us, and it looked like a dead zombie. I just prefer peaceful dreams. Well, I think normally a keynote is like an hour long, you're like speaking at the thing, but he asked Alex to speak. And then Alex and I were like, all right, we'll be there. And then he was like, oh my God, you're coming? I didn't even think you would want to come. Can you speak? And I was like, yeah. But a lot of my stuff is not as relevant for people who are like newer in their business career, you know, because like how many agents have like teams and management things to deal with and like all of that kind of stuff, like not as many. And so we talked about just having me speak to a room of, what do you want to call it? Like 100 people, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How's it going? You're good, man. What's up?
I wanted to get a live the game show right here. I'm a treasury founder from Nebraska.
I don't do as well when like.
He was following.
You know, it can be weird at times when people stop you because, you know, as a woman, for most of my life, if somebody goes to stop me on the street, it's not for anything good. They don't even say hi to me. Most of them, I hear them say my name, and it's always men, and they don't want to say hi. You know what I mean? It's like most of the time they're just like, I'll leave her alone. But then when they do, it's like, I get why they don't, because it's awkward.
Yeah.
It's like I followed you and I'm a man. It's like, I say I'm a fan, it's like, how do I know? And so I've had to really recontextualize and recondition myself to be okay with like random men coming up to me on the street. I think I don't mind it at all. I love hearing the stories of people sharing like how the brand has helped them, how the content we put out has helped them. Like, I love that. And I want people to keep coming up to me. It's just something I have to adjust to. So if you've ever come up to me and I've run away, I'm sorry. And now I feel like I have a lot more people that are advocates for me or positive, leave nicer comments. I think it was so shitty in the beginning. Whenever anyone starts to go post on social media, we probably have a set of assumptions of what people are gonna say about us. Like generally put me down because I'm talking about male concepts that are like more of a male audience that would be watching and interested in. Like it felt like for me specifically, it was really shitty in the beginning. Just shitty. I didn't expect people to talk about how I look, how deep my voice is. But through that, like being shitty in the beginning, I think I like learned so many skills to manage how to deal with judgment from others. I have come to realize is that one, not talking about it and being ashamed of what people say about you on the internet doesn't help, because I think anything you don't talk about has power over you. The second piece to it is that I just realized I actually agree with a lot of people, like where they say that I'm like a trans woman. You know, it used to shock me, but then I looked at myself and I was like, I mean, you're talking about business, you have really strong features, you have a very deep voice, like you are different. I think it just took me admitting to myself that I'm not like everybody else. I'm me. I've gotten to a point where it's like, I can read all the comments again and see bad comments and shit people say and not be affected by it. And that feels like an incredibly useful skill.
Thank you for calling Huntress Steakhouse. Amy speaking. How can we help you?
Amy, how are you today? Quick question
Yes,
for
I'm
you.
here.
I have reservation at 7:30, and I am curious, what's the dress code?
So Alex and I are getting ready for dinner now, and he has to call because like most of the time we go to a lot of like nice restaurants. I would say most of the time people are cool with his outfit that he wears, but 5% of the time somebody's really rude and tells him to like go change or get pants. So he has to call ahead of time to see if he can actually get in with what he's wearing. You know, this restaurant was actually cool with it, so that was great because we didn't have to go home to change.
We're gonna, Layla, are you walking to Huntress or are you walking to Pendry?
I actually love these things.
Oh, yeah. Glad we didn't have to walk this.
Have a good night. Did you hear the music last night? While I hit the pillow, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna fall asleep. And then I was just like, oh. I don't like doing anything late the night before a speech. Even like dinner, like I was like, it was way too late for me. Like I feel awful today. You can start whenever. He basically was like, they want to be able to ask you questions more than they want you to talk to them. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. What can I teach you in 17 minutes? Except I should just, you know what I'm saying? Whoa, that looks really good. Oh, thank you guys so much. All right, I'll get changed. So intimidating. I know where we're going everywhere. What's up? How's it going?
Good.
Yeah?
Alex murdered it.
I expect no less. I don't know if I'm gonna get through all the 7, so I might just like hone in on a couple that are the best. Well, you wanted more Q&A though than the talk, right?
My suggestion, if it's cool with you guys, do your things for 30 minutes, and then we do questions for like 20, and then let's last 5 to 7 minutes. If they can just literally, y'all just be Barbie and Ken, and they just take pictures with you, and they will be super happy.
I'm gonna just set a timer, and I'm gonna say whatever I get through, and then we're gonna go into Q&A.
All right, let me get the crew ready. You're not
Should we go?
mic'd up already?
If I was a handheld, that would be really good.
I can get you out, let me get your hand out. Very good friends, they're great entrepreneurs, and they're just amazing humans. And she's doing this as a personal favor to us to be here. So let's give it up for my friend Layla.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
What do you recommend, like your top 3 advices for one building personal brand?
Top pieces of advice. I mean, the first one, whether you're building it for your business or just because you want to build one, I would say is make content that you want to see out there. My best content always comes from making content that I wish that I could watch myself. And then whenever I make content that is what I would want to see out there, that's when it tends to do the best. The second piece is I would say like never pretend to try and be an expert on something. Or another way of saying that is making content that only you could make. And then if I had to go to a third one, I would say that it is preferable that you make content in a way that is sustainable for you. If it feels shitty to make it, if it feels gross, if it feels not good in any way, it will become a very punishing experience and you'll eventually want to stop. I think that going into it with the mindset of like, if this quarter content goes down because I need to focus somewhere else in my business, that's okay. And I think the only reason like I've been able to make content and actually run and grow a business is because of that. And so I think a lot of times if you want to win, it's just figuring out how to not lose.
Can we give it up for Layla?
You're such an inspiration to a young businesswoman. So
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. Thank you guys. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys for having us. Everyone on your team has been great. We did have some kind of technical issues while the speech was starting, but you know, it ended up actually going really well. Well, I did feel thrown, to be honest.
You didn't seem bothered at all.
It's not like they want that to happen. You know, it's not like things like that haven't happened at events that we've hosted. I like couldn't think, like I was just like distracted by everything happening on stage. If you do more events, you'll know that like nothing ever goes exactly as planned. There's always stuff that goes off, especially when you have an event with thousands and thousands of people. It's just really impossible to have everything go smooth as butter. I think it's like I used to get so frustrated with that stuff, but now it's just like nothing ever goes how you want it to go. Prepare for the unexpected. But I think it was actually really good because then we were able to do more Q&A, which I think a lot of times people can watch me on YouTube, they can go watch my content, they can't ask me a personal question. Even though I like to do presentations because I, for some reason, feel like it's delivering more value, I know logically that answering someone's personal question is probably more valuable. At the event, they almost said you weren't gonna have your slides, and I was like, and there was like 2,000 people. Like I did not feel good about that at all. And I think Caleb was the only person that knew I was like about to hyperventilate.
Don't worry about it.
yeah.
And everyone else was like, Layla, can you tell me about blah, blah? And I was like, listen, like this stuff happens at events.
Layla murdered it. Did a Q&A with the 30 highest producers out of 12,000, so that was a cool thing. She got to talk about building teams, and she was a champ because they had a bunch of technical difficulties, but she just was unfazed because that's who she is.
Have you read the book Love and Respect? It talks about like men want to solve problems and women want to be heard and listened. So it's just like, ever since we got that frame, I was just like, it's so much easier. Because like every time I tell him something, he's like, oh, you need to do something. Like, I don't want you to do anything. I'm fucking capable. I'm like, I just want you to listen. And I feel much better after. Yeah. Men and women want different things from each other. And I think a couple things, which is like knowing what your spouse wants out of a relationship with you. And the second is not expecting to get everything you want from one person. But then when I'm with him, usually he wants me to do something. So then I'm like, you know, but if I just try to listen, I'm like, do you want my opinion? He's like, yes. Like our society specifically places a lot of stress on relationships by making it up like these two people need to be the everything for each other. But I think that the smartest relationships not only make sure they understand what each person wants from each other, but then have networks of other people that they involve in their lives that they can get other things from, so it's not all put onto the spouse. I just want you to listen. I don't need you to help me solve anything. I just would love you to listen.
What's up? Okay.
I think that book helped me realize, one, I need to constantly know what Alex wants from me, ask, and then say like, is that what I want to be giving? And then also knowing when something goes beyond the scope of what you ask a spouse to do or be for you. I think a lot of people just ask their spouse to be the things that other people can be for them as well. An everything shower. And he's like, what the fuck is that? I was like, I'm gonna scrub myself, I'm gonna deep cleanse, I'm gonna do my exfoliation, I'm gonna exfoliate my lips, I'm gonna teeth whiten, I'm gonna scalp scrub, and I'm gonna blank, and I'm gonna do all in the shower at the same time. And you come out and you're like, let's go, world. I'm feeling good. This is a guy everything show. You know, for some reason I really like the Nike Metcons for walking. I actually am like the fucking worst when it comes to shoes keeping up. Like if you go look at my tennis shoes at home right now, they're beat the fuck up. They are used. They have not been replaced in like 2 years. And I walk a fuck ton. I just always forget to buy them. It's weird, right? It's like I keep up on like my cute shoes, but when it comes to like my tennis shoes, like I go to the gym, I have like a whole like nice outfit and everything, and then just these fucking busted ass shoes. I don't know why. You know, I think at the end of the day, like most people are never taught this stuff. Because of that, I think that they don't know how to handle some of the situations. You know, the uncertainty of, will I find a job, will I not? What should I accept, what should I not? When I'm hiring somebody, it's like I'm never gonna find somebody who's perfect. They're never gonna fit 100% of the criteria I want. And if they did, they probably wouldn't stay very long, because what upward growth do I have to offer them if like this is everything that they've ever wanted? And I think it goes the same for when you're finding a job. You have to figure out what pieces will you negotiate on and that are flexible, and then which pieces are not flexible, and you have to be reasonable. Like no job is perfect, just like no employee is perfect. And I think the same goes for when you're looking for a job. It's just, am I willing to compromise on these pieces, and what can I do to make up for it? You know, what am I gonna be able to do maybe at the job that maybe one day these things that I don't get on day 1, I'll get on day 30. I think that when it comes to like job hunting and negotiation, it's something that people don't do frequently. So people often aren't very skilled at it because they don't do it often. It's not like every month you go look for a new job. Like the feedback cycle of like, okay, I learned this 3 years ago. Like 1, the likelihood you're gonna remember the thing you learned is low. And then 2, the likelihood you're gonna increase your skill of being able to find and negotiate a job is again low. I think in terms of what are you gonna negotiate on, I think you have to start with the question of what do you want your day-to-day to look like? Not how much money you wanna make. Because I think your day-to-day as an employee is gonna affect your happiness more than the income. And what are your goals? Are those two things aligned? Because sometimes people have the goals of being like a multi-6-figure earner, but they assume they're never gonna work weekends and they're never gonna have nights. And it's like the reality of like people who make a lot of money is usually there is at some point in time sacrifice given. And so I think you have to decide what your objective is with the job, and then based on that, what makes sense to give flex to. And so it's unlikely that one person's going to change how they do business and how they employ people. So it makes more sense to be more intentional with where you look to be employed. I think a lot of people, if they just wrote down the things that, what are your goals with this job? What are the things that you want to do on a daily basis? They would have a much easier time picking a job. But a lot of people just don't know how. And so I think that more people just need to be told what to do in those situations because there's a very low level of education around it. So I think if you think about it like that, it helps break it down a little bit better. I think the word negotiating has such like an ick to it. I don't even like the word. I think it's just like discussing expectations. And there's a price for different expectations, and there's a price for different amounts of work. And it doesn't make sense to get exploited in a company by them hiring you for one thing and you doing a million other things. When it comes to negotiating, I think that most people get very uncomfortable and they avoid having those conversations on the forefront and then delay them until they're later on in the organization. And I think that it's just better to have them up front. The right employers like us will do right and be like, oh, you're doing way more, like we should probably give you a raise. But like a lot of places don't do that. And so it's like, you should just up front be like, I will do all of these things as well. This costs more because it takes more time and more of my attention. Therefore, I should be paid more because this is not on the job description. I think there's a lot of times in my business career, in fact, more times than not, where I have been met with a lot of anxiety about something. It's risk. At some point in your life, you have to take a risk. And if something looks like it's gaining a lot of momentum, taking off, I just think like logically speaking, does this make sense? And then evidence, is there evidence to support that this is going to succeed? A lot of times people can talk a big game and get people really hyped up emotionally about an opportunity, but at the end of the day, just look at the evidence. In the beginning, when we first started a company, I remember like how anxious I would be running meetings. I only felt anxious because I'd just never done it before. And I felt like there had to be this like magic formula as to how to do it correctly rather than just continuing to try and try and try. I've always felt like intense paralyzing anxiety, but reality is it's not actually paralyzing. But at the end of the day, like you're gonna have to take some risk. The only way that I've known to increase my risk tolerance is just fucking doing it. And every time you lean into it and you do more of it, you feel less afraid. Whenever there's something I'm anxious about, I don't want it to have power over me. I didn't want that to control my life because I thought of like the big vision of what my life should look like. So might as well do it now because I'm not gonna be less anxious tomorrow. Just like, to leave the hotel at 5:15
You're like,
for the flight. Yeah, you can't do a mini frappuccino. It's pumpkin spice frappuccino. When things go in a way that we didn't expect them to go, what it is actually that causes so much of the contention is that we argue with reality. I stayed in this Airbnb with 5 like grown-up men. Why? Because there was nothing, it was fucking the cheapest thing we could find. It was weird as fuck. One day I like got up and I would get up at like 4 a.m. to like meal prep and I couldn't find the foil. I'm like looking for it and I get a text and I was like, who the fuck's texting me at 4 a.m.? And it's the owner of the house who's never there. They're not in the Airbnb. And she goes, what are you looking for? And I was like, what? And she goes, it's to the left in the cabinet. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, I guess she's fucking watching. Started looking around, they had like hidden cameras in the whole house. So weird. Wow. Yeah. Remember that I can't control everything. And I think that part of it is just embracing the unfortunate events as they come and also just asking like, what's good about this? And you know, that situation where I was in that house with all those guys, with people I didn't know, and it felt very weird, it also made me a lot more tough. Dude, I hate it. Honestly, it was so uncomfortable, but I was so, like, I literally left every day at 6 a.m. and I would shower at the gym and everything, and I would get home, I would go and eat dinner at 9 p.m., Subway, make my calls, come back at 10 and just be like fucking exhausted and go to bed. So I was never there, you know, just to sleep. I think that that's my way of just embracing reality. Something is happening and we are saying, instead of that, I've created this default in my mind where I just go into like, just bathe in it. Bathe in the anxiety or the frustration or the anger or whatever emotion is brought to surface by that event, just lean into it.
How would you counter if you were applying for a job?
I said, what would it take for you to pay me $30 an hour, not $25 an hour? Because they might say, we can't, it's not in the budget. Or they might say, like it might mess up their whole pay structure. So it's like, ask the reason why, and then if the reason is like, well, here's these other things that you don't have, then she could counter and be like, actually, these are things I do have that weren't cited in any of our interviews that you didn't know about. But if it's not about her, which there's a 50%, maybe 60% chance it's not, then it's just unnecessary.
But by asking that way, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Just saying what would it take rather than I demand this.
I think a lot of unexpected situations can turn into really valuable lessons, and you can overcome it, and you can turn it into something good. I do too. I'm happy to be back. Oh God. Davina's like, I'm ready for party later.